I find it insulting. We have to bring our attention back to the people who should be our focus, the survivors of Epstein's horrific sex trafficking operation, the women and girls who were exploited, abused, ignored for years. They deserve the truth, transparency, and justice without delay, without excuses, and without any political protections for the powerful or the wealthy. That's what we should be doing. Not scoring partisan points, not creating distractions, working to uncover the full scope of his crime so the survivors can see accountability. And if we're truly serious about justice, we can't ignore one of Epstein's most well-documented associates, President Donald J. Trump. We have documented communications, including a signed birthday note from Donald Trump containing explicit sexual references and referencing wonderful secrets between them. Emails from Epstein saying that Trump, quote, knew about the girls. Donald Trump acknowledging he knew Epstein was a, quote, creep and that Epstein recruited girls and women from Mar-a-Lago. Trump saying he wants to cover up the files because, quote, my friends will get hurt. If we're committed to transparency and justice, why is that off limits for this committee? Why is his name absent? Why no discussion of Attorney General Bondi's refusal to comply for months with this committee's subpoena? Why no contempt for Attorney General Bondi? What we're witnessing today is not oversight, it's not accountability, it's part of a cover-up, a diversion. And it didn't start today. Despite clear legal requirements in a law that Donald Trump signed, a subpoena that you signed, Mr. Chairman, and repeated public promises, Attorney General Bondi has failed to release the files. It's entirely within her control, and yet only 1% has been produced, more than a month late. And even that sliver is so heavily redacted that it mocks the law. It mocks the law. And it mocks this committee's subpoena. And let's be honest about the transparency that Attorney General Bondi has provided. This is DOJ Epstein data set number 4. It's number 4. Data set number 4. This is part of the 1% that folks have been talking about this today. I'll close with this. Attorney General Bondi and the Trump administration missed their deadline. They're ignoring our subpoena. They've withheld 99% of the files, and they have obscured the little that they did release. It's not a coincidence. It's intentional. It's about protecting one man, Donald J. Trump, from accountability. Release the files. I yield back.
Chair recognizes.
Mr. Chair, have unanimous consent request?
Okay, I'll recognize you for that.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter to the record a political article entitled "Clay Higgins Explains Why He Was the Lone No Vote on Epstein Files Release."
Without objection to order. Chair recognizes it'll be on our side Mr. Perry, then Mr. McGuire. Mr. Perry.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm disappointed at where we're headed here. Look, I think that legitimately both sides want all the information. I know I sure do, with the proviso that the victims and innocent people are not damaged in the release of that. What's interesting to me is that the only time my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to talk about any of this is when they can bring up the current president's name, but they're not interested at all in anything else. And I would just say this regarding the timeline, because I'm frustrated with it too. You know what would have been great? Would have been awesome if we could have truncated the timeline when the Democrat DOJ was in power under a Democrat president and there was any investigation whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends on the other side of the aisle weren't interested in these victims at all when they could have done something about it. Nary a word was said, and certainly nothing was done. All this advance work could have been done by them had they cared. But this is not about caring about anybody. This is all political theater because they hate the current president of the United States. I get it. It's disappointing to me. These victims should have their day, and they should, all this information, regardless of who it touches, should be out, with the proviso that the innocent are protected. I know that's not of any interest to you. I get it. That's unfortunate. I yield the balance of my time to the gentleman from Louisiana.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Chairman, earlier I asked unanimous consent to receive into the record the actual subpoena presented to the Honorable Pam Bondi by this committee regarding the DOJ's release of the investigative files on Jeffrey Epstein that was dated the 5th of August. I'd like to enter into unanimous consent associated with that entry, the letter written by this committee on August the 5th to Attorney General Pam Bondi, referencing the subpoena and giving specific instructions.
Without objections ordered.
I'd like to also enter into the record actually, I don't believe this has been released prior to right now, is the schedule associated with the subpoena. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of specific instructions from this committee regarding the subpoena delivered on August the 5th. Now, unanimous consent.
Without objection to
that
ordered.
schedule as well. I'm sure the media will be fascinated with that. So the professionalism that this committee has pursued, to clarify for the citizenry, the professionalism that this committee has embraced and pursued has been squared away, impeccable. And that includes recognition that the Department of Justice, as stated in the subpoena, is to comply with redaction procedures of established law and criminal justice, long-standing procedures. So I heard someone mention 5 million files. That is the first time I've heard 5 million files. But I know that there were originally 250,000 files. And the Trump administration found another 600,000 files. So we were talking about, to round it off, 1 million files. Every one of those individual documents has to be reviewed by agents of the DOJ and their supervisors before they can be officially approved for release. That's the law. The DOJ has 400 agents working full-time on just releasing these documents. Now, you may argue that at the end of the day, you want to see the release of what they completed that day. I would say that's a fair narrative for discussion. But to say that DOJ is not fully engaged in complying with our subpoena is not accurate. It's not intellectually sound. And, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity to offer into the record these official and legal subpoena documents. I yield.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chair, I have a unanimous consent request.
Okay, Mr. Frost.
I have 2 articles. One is from Politics PA. Quote, Representative Perry referred to the House Ethics Committee for refusing subpoena.
Without objection to ordered.
The other one's a CNN article. GOP reps Perry and Biggs formally object to subpoena from House January 6th
Without
committee.
objection to ordered. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett from Texas.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I have sat here listening, and I am quite perplexed. It does take me back to my legal days. And so when I think about a subpoena, one of the things that we normally look at when we are trying to determine whether or not contempt is going to be ushered into the conversation is whether or not there's been substantial compliance. and what it means to actually look like you have substantially complied. It means